Welcome to the Venus Flytrap podcast. I am your host, Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards, and this is where we talk about all kinds of relationships, from the relationship you have with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, spouse, husband, wife, significant other, whatever you want to call it, but also recognizing that everything is a relationship. We have a relationship with money. We have a relationship with our family, with our friends, with our careers, with our creator, what do we call that? God, the universe, Allah, Brian, whatever it is, right? And we have a relationship with ourselves. Now, sometimes people get into what they call a toxic relationship. Now, there's actually no real definition of a psychological issue called a toxic relationship, but we call it that, right? And it can be based on a variety of things that you already know. So anyway, but why? Why do we have these toxic relationships? And I ask people, have you ever been in a toxic relationship? Most people seem to say yes. The ones that say no, I just say, look, you need to get out more often. Anyway, we get in these toxic relationships. So why? Why do we have them? Well, it's usually, not always, but usually because we've created patterns when we were children that keep repeating themselves throughout our lives, and we keep drawing the same situations, the same circumstances into our lives over and over again. And we say, how do I keep doing this? Why does this keep happening to me? Well, it doesn't. It happens for you to see those patterns, recognize that you are creating it so you can change them. I know that's a lot to take in maybe at first sound, but I'm going to get you to see that that is the case. And then when I can do that, and I can help you do that now, we can help you make some changes. You see, if you think that things happen to you, now you got a wound, right? You have a wound that's going to need healing. But if you can believe that everything happens for you, now you're not going to get that right away. It can take weeks, months, even years sometimes to figure out what it is that happened for you in that situation. But once you do, you don't have a wound. Now you're wiser, right? And that's where wisdom comes from, right? Recognizing those patterns that were created years ago. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you an idiot. No, it doesn't make it an idiot. It makes you realize that these patterns were formulated in your childhood. For why? So that you have something to resist. You can't grow without resistance, right? A flower has to push through the soil, right? Has to grow underneath the earth and then push itself out. Well, yeah, you're a flower, right? So anyway, so we need to have resistance. You want to build a muscle? You got to have resistance. So we're going to look at those patterns, even your relationship with God, Brian, Trevor, whatever you call it. I can promise you this, that this podcast, all these podcasts you come to, they're going to be entertaining. I'm going to make you laugh. We're going to have fun. We're going to have a wry smile on our face. I'm going to laugh at me. I'm going to laugh at you, right? So they're going to be entertaining. They're going to be enlightening. You're going to learn things that are going to enlighten you. They're going to make you think differently, believe different things, and look at life and everything around you in a different way. And they're going to be empowering. They're going to give you the power to take control of your life and live life on your terms. Entertaining, enlightening, empowering. So let's get started.
Tailored suit in a London rain. He built an empire to mask the pain. A self-made man with a heart and heart, watching the world from a place apart. Then she walked in like a sudden blade, in the midnight heat where the shadows played. A fallen heiress with a rebel soul, ready to take back all control. She lived by no rules but her own desire, wrapping his life in a ring of fire. An international ghost of a golden age, stepping back onto the center stage. Oh, the Venus flytrap.
Okay, I know I said we're good. Let's get into it, and we are. But I just want to do something first. And it's still getting into it, really, but it's just getting ourselves in the right place to get into it. Stephen, what? Get on with it. Okay. So what I want to do to begin with is to just share with you some soul tree. And if you watched any previous podcasts, you know that I started to read soul tree. If you haven't watched the previous podcast, what are you doing here? All right, so let's call this one is called Children Are Playing. So deep breath. And breathe out through your heart. Okay, let's back up a second, because you're still saying, Stephen, you haven't shown me how to breathe out of my heart yet. Good point. So let's talk about that right now. So when you breathe in, you don't actually breathe out through your heart. You imagine it coming out of your heart, okay? All right. So there. Now you know. So let's do it. Breathe in. I have my eyes open because I got to keep my eye on you. You're supposed to close your eyes. Let's go. Come on. Shape up, everybody. Deep breath in. Imagine it coming out of your heart as you breathe out. One more breath in. Breathe out through your heart again. Keep your eyes closed. Feet on the floor. No crossed legs. And this piece of soul tree is called Children Are Playing. Children are playing like instruments that sound the song. They are the life of creation in which they always belong. For their cries and their laughter in life, we will always long. In our minds they make mistakes, but in our hearts they can do no wrong. As they grow through experience at what seems like an incredible pace, we hold their hand and their heart through all that they face. When we finally let go for them to find their own space, we make sure they know in our heart and home they always have a place. Into the future they run with the wind in their hair. Through the challenges they find strength because they know that you're there. In all of the gifts that life brings, nothing can compare to the love that you give them and to know that you care. As they become the glory that they have compiled, they may have lived a life that was tranquil and mild. They may have been crazy, outrageous, and wild, but in the eyes of creation, you are always a child. Breathe that in, huh? Breathe it out through your heart. One more deep breath. Gently open your eyes and breathe that out of your heart. It's true. In the eyes of creation, you are always a child. And what we do during the course of our lives, we build walls around that child, and we think to protect them, protect ourselves. But actually what they do is they imprison us. They stop us from being who we really are. They stop us from being our authentic self because we think the world is going to hurt us. We can't trust. We don't want to be abandoned, judged. So it makes us feel less than worthy. So we've got to get back to being who we really are. And that's what this journey is all about. But I also want to just take a minute here to read a little bit of the book to you, for you to get a little sense of the book. If you look at the cover, the cover, right? It looks like an erotic romance. And it is, but it's so much more than that, as you've heard me say before, right? So now the first 19 chapters is all madness and mayhem. But in the chapter 19, I get into a little bit of it wasn't all madness and mayhem, right? There were really powerful moments, but there are also patterns that, I don't know, maybe you get into, I certainly have, that are also worth looking at and identifying in a fun way. So this chapter is called Deny, Deflect, Justify. So one evening, we were sitting together on the lounges by the pool. I was looking over the lake, watching the sunset, and Tomoz was reading Vanity Fair, sipping her glass of wine. As she was looking at the magazine, she asked me, "Why do men want a girl to be a virgin?" Because women never forget their first. Do you want a virgin? Hell no. Why? I gave up on that dream a long time ago. Dream? I'm your dream, honey. Anyway, good, because that was a long time ago. You'll never forget me anyway. Oh, really? Why is that? You'll find out. Because you think you will be my last love? Well, I'm not hoping I won't be, but not because of that. Just so you know, I'm not going to tattoo your name on my ass. Okay, I'll bite. Why will I never forget you, Dave? Very funny, Doris. I love your sense of humor. Well, let me tell you something, mister. You'll never forget me. I'll let you know why. Because if you ever call me Doris again, I'll slap you so hard you'll be back in the Stone Age where you came from. Trust me, you'll never forget me or my name ever again. Okay, note to self, as if I was writing the note down. Doris has serious anger issues. Yeah, you'd better write that down and commit it to memory. In the meantime, don't speak to me for about an hour. I'm really annoyed with you, Doris. What kind of name is Doris? What time is it now? Time for you to get lost or shut up. You decide. Okay, Doris, as I bolted, she picked up a glass of wine and threw it at me as I was running away. I should probably stay clear for at least 2 hours, I thought. And I never called her Doris again. But she never forgot me, and she never will. We did and said awful, terrible things to each other out of our hurt and pain. We have tended to focus on all the negative aspects of our relationship, our weaknesses and foibles. We were both insecure, immature, irrational, and irresponsible. These flaws created mayhem in our lives. They also created amazing adventures that made the havoc and mayhem worthwhile. As crazy as things got, there were just as many incredible moments. We showered each other with love all the time. We wrote long texts every day, expressing how and why we loved each other. Not a single day passed without us saying, I love you. We made each other laugh as much as we made each other cry. I used to write a love note, slip them into her shoes or clothes so they would fall out when she put them on. Sometimes I took them into her folded clothes or bags, leaving little surprises for her to find. Tomoz and I love bombed each other constantly. Once I wrote 100 sticky notes, each one listing something I loved about her, and stuck them all over her bathroom mirror. When she walked in and saw them, she put her hands over her mouth in shock. Then she read each one, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. She carefully placed them along the outside frame of her mirror and would read some every day as she got ready. About a month later, she did the same for me. She arranged the notes in a shape of a heart on my bathroom mirror. It had the same effect on me. I was utterly shocked, overwhelmed with gratitude. These were the kind of experiences we created for each other all the time. We also loved listening to music together and shared many favorite songs, one of which was Truly, Madly, Deeply by Savage Garden. From the beginning of our relationship, I would buy Tomoz greeting cards or love cards, beautiful ones. They were like works of art. I wrote heartfelt poems inside them for her. Along with the poems, I filled the cards with memories of our recent moments together, writing in different directions, so she had to keep turning the card to read each one. Sometimes it was just a word or phrase, enough to bring back a special memory. I would give her 3, 4, or sometimes 5 or more at a time, especially on holidays. Sometimes I just couldn't choose which one I liked best, so I bought them all. I also had so much to say that one card was never enough. I would write in each one, filling them with my thoughts and memories. It often took quite some time, but I loved doing it. It was a way of expressing my feelings about her and capturing the incredible moments we shared. I enjoyed doing it. Tomoz, of course, loved it. I also gave her the cards while we were in bed, for obvious reasons. She would excitedly open each envelope, admiring the beautiful artwork on the front of the cards. I even had a special way of writing her name on the envelopes, which she always noticed. Then she would hand me a card and say, "Read it to me." She loved listening to my English accent. Lying on her side, beside me, she'd prop up her head with her hand completely focused. I would read aloud every word, every poem, every memory, turning the cards as I followed the scattered notes, navigating the maze. Each memory brought laughter, conversation, and nostalgia. It was our special ritual, time just for us. At the bottom, inside right side of every card, I always signed off the same message. I love you, truly, madly, deeply, our song. 4E times 23, forever, for eternity, times 23, my magical number. Stephen, my name, XOXO. We had so many little sayings and rituals unique to us. One of our love was deep, and we expressed it in countless creative ways. There was never a dull moment. Every day felt like an adventure. Tomoz had a knack for finding exactly what she wanted. Money, drugs, secrets. No drawer, bag, or cupboard was off limits. Her charm was disarming, her manipulation effortless. And before I even realized it, she had taken everything she needed, whether it was cash for my carry-on or a piece of my sanity. For a while, I had no idea she had gone through everything in the house. Things most people consider private. To Tomoz, they were all hers to explore. She even read my journal. I found out when she casually mentioned something I had written in my journal, but something I had not told her. After that, I started writing fictitious stories in my journal to mess with her. July 31st, 2014, Thursday, flying from Sarasota to Atlanta and Atlanta to Baltimore. What a week. Tomoz has been impossible all week, and our time together has been a complete nightmare. Exclamation mark. Haha, Tomoz. If you're reading this, it serves you right. Stop snooping in my journal. It's private. Go write your own. Love you. What was I going to do? There was no point in hiding my journal. She'd just find it anyway. My journals were far more detailed than I can share here. Maybe one day I'll turn them into a book, a collection of my journals, poems, and letters I wrote to Tomoz. Whenever I confronted Tomoz about something that she had done, she would always go through a 3-step process. For example, when I found money missing from my carry-on bag, I asked her, "Baby, most of the money I left in my carry-on is missing. Do you know anything about it?" She had left some money in the envelope, making it less obvious until you actually counted it. She was no rookie. She replied, "No, I don't know anything about it. Maybe you spent it and forgotten." First, she would deny it. "I'd remember if I'd spent it, Tomoz," I pressed. "I don't even use cash anymore unless it's an emergency." Then she said, "You want me to be here so you can fuck me day and night, so I need some money." Second, she would deflect responsibility. It was my fault. "That's not true. Well, not completely true. You could have a job working with me. You could take care of the house, be my butler." I prodded her. You could imagine the look on her face. "Well, I need money. I need to buy things that make me look pretty for you. I hate asking you for money," she argued. Third, she would justify. Then I told myself, it's only a relatively small amount of money. It's not worth arguing about. Hi, listen, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're here to make a public service announcement. If you're enjoying this conversation, which I know you are, right? Because if you say no, you probably lie about other things too, right? So if you're enjoying this, which I really do hope that you are, please take a moment to follow or hit the subscribe button and the like button so you never miss an episode. Let's get back to the conversation. First, denial. Then, what do you expect if she has no money? Second, deflect onto myself. It was my fault, right? Lastly, I would tell myself, of course she needs money to buy things, to look pretty, and she shouldn't have to ask me. That's demeaning. Third, justify her behavior. Deny, deflect, justify. I was doing the same thing. Are you even surprised? She had been doing the same thing since we started seeing each other, and so had I. Just a few days later, she nearly got me arrested and stole my home. I know, right? I know. Crazy, right? So anyway, I'm going to go through this quick. As you can imagine, Tomoz did not like being told what to do or following rules, not even her own. Almost everything she did was far outside normal behavior. Tomoz had just one rule, that the rules did not apply to her. She would sunbathe topless everywhere. Well, wherever she chose to sunbathe, right? When she lived in LA, she would walk into a hotel, head to the pool, grab one of the poolside towels, claim a lounger, take up off her top, and lay there topless, completely unbothered. Now and then she'd get up and go to the swimming pool. She was not a guest of the hotel, but she looked like one. She looked like she belonged, like she was either rich or with a rich husband or boyfriend. She had an air about her, a presence that said, "This is my world." Can you imagine the pool staff saying anything to her? She would have cut them into pieces and devoured them. Occasionally it would happen. "Excuse me, madam, are you staying at the hotel?" "What?" She would glare at them. "Who are you and what is your name?" A veiled threat. Now, it took some chutzpah for them to push forward, but if they did, they might say something like, "Hello, my name is Joe Blow. I apologize, madam, but could I get your last name and room number?" That might continue, but she wasn't going to make it easy. She would make them feel like they probably were going to lose their job. If they pushed further and went off to verify, she would simply get up and leave. Easy, simple, no consequences. All right, so those are a couple little extracts from the book. We'll do more later, but as you can see, it's pretty funny. She's a character. I'm a character. We had fun. We had a lot of love, but also next time we're going to talk about some of the crazy things that happened that you will say, "There's no way that happened. That can't be true. No one could be that stupid." But like I said, it is, it did, and I was. All right, so let's get into some of the other stuff here that I wanted to cover today. Some of the questions or quotes that I think might be helpful in your circumstances, a situation. If you're in a toxic relationship or you don't want to get in a toxic relationship. What did I say? Prevention before the cure, right? So, toxic love teaches us to crave the highs and survive the lows, right? So I had already told you that when I was about 16, I was put in an insane asylum. Why? Because I was insane, all right? I got on this incredibly manic episode. So I was diagnosed. Back then it was called manic depressive, right? Now it's called bipolar, right? And I'll get to later why that was actually a gift, although it didn't appear like it at the time. So the point is, in mania, you're having a high, right? And then you experience the lows. And of course, they subscribe you drugs, which kind of make you feel weird and not yourself. And so a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, when they have these issues, mental issues, they don't take the drugs, right? Because the highs are so high. You don't want to lose that. And you decide you're going to tolerate the lows. Well, you can imagine bringing that into a relationship. It just expanded everything, right? It exaggerated everything. And we were both the same. We loved the highs, were amazing, right? I mean, 3 days in a sex room. How bad can that be? And at the end of pretty much every chapter, you get to the end of the chapter, you go, "Whoa, thank God for that. He got away, he got out," right? And then you start the next chapter and you go, "They're back together. How the heck can they be back together? That's insane." Well, I told you that in the beginning. So the highs were very high and the lows were very low, right? And so we crave that. We never wanted to live a normal life. We were not normal because there's no such thing. But we were exaggerated versions, right, of both sides of the spectrum, right? But you start to crave that. And the toxic relationship kind of teaches you to crave it, because when the highs are so good, you don't want to lose the highs. I would say, in the book, I would say, you probably think I should have broken up with her right now. Yeah? I know you do. Because I talk to people as well as myself, right? So I talked to you as we're going through the book. And you probably, and I'm mind reading and going, I know you think I should have broken up with her, but here's the situation. First of all, if I'd have broken up with her, you wouldn't be enjoying this amazing story right now, would you? So that would have ruined your life. And then I'm asking myself, I'm questioning it, right? And I'm going, okay, so what are my choices here? Well, number one, I could break up with her. Okay, yeah. And if I do, what does that mean? It means I'm going to go back to a relatively boring, mediocre life, right? Or I could stay with a 6 foot tall, former international supermodel that is drop dead gorgeous and is a sex addict, and I have a sex room in my house. Let me think about that. Okay, I'm staying, right? Now, I did that for so long, and I got my ass kicked, right, in unbelievable ways, right? She really kicked my ass. But I hung in there because the reward was worth it until it wasn't. Okay. So in a toxic relationship, we tend to crave the highs and put up with the lows for a certain amount of time. Let's face it, the universe sets it up. This is not a coincidence, right? This is supposed to happen, right? It's all perfect. You drew it into your life. But there has to be something in it for you to stay in it. Otherwise, you're going to walk out of it and you're never going to get any healing. So what was in it for me was what I just told you. Right. But Blanche also, secondary, she was super intelligent. And I love that about her, right? She could 99 times out of 100, she could outsmart me. And I think I'm pretty smart, right? So I was like, wow, she just always has the last word, right? She always has the last smartest thing to say. And she usually outwits me, right? I did outwit her a few times and it was a good day. All right. So sometimes the person you can't let go of is the person destroying your peace. Isn't that ironic, right? That they cause so much chaos. And what you don't realize, that chaos is causing anxiety, right? It's almost like, why am I shaking right now? Because of all this chaos, right? And then you go, yeah, but we're going to be in the sex room for 3 days, starting tomorrow, right? I'm staying at least the next 3 days. And very often when we broke up, I would just tell myself, I'm going to maybe see her a couple more times and then we'll be done. And before you know it, in 2 days, you're already back in the Venus flytrap. The nectar is so powerful and the fly gets disorientated. I was completely disorientated, right? And we all, I think at some point, tell ourselves things that we want to hear to justify staying in it, right? Now, I'm not saying you do that, but you might know someone, right? And so very often when I'm helping people to get out of a toxic relationship, they've been trying. I mean, they really have been trying, but they keep going back. All their friends and relatives are telling them, listen, this person is bad for you. Get out while you're still alive. And sometimes they're even scared for the person's health and safety, but the person keeps going back. And it happens even in abused relationships, right? They go back and they get their ass kicked again and they say, well, you don't understand. He's a nice guy. He's trying. Most of the time he's really good to me. He only beats me 3 times a day now. It's all got, it's really cut back. Right? And it sounds funny and I'm making a joke about it, but it isn't funny. I know it's not funny, right? But sometimes humor is a very important tool. Why? Because if you get people to go to the place they need to go to, get them into the pain, because you got to get into that pain, right? Pain is a powerful driving force. When you get them into the pain, you can't leave them there, right? You don't want to go, listen, I know you're miserable and you're crying, but I got to go. No, you got to get them out of that, right? And sometimes humor is a great way to do it. People say, you've heard me say this before, oh, Stephen, I'm so broken. And I go, really? Well, do me, I can't see where you're broken. Can you do me a favor? Can you take some photographs of where you're broken and just send it to me so I can see it? And they go, all right, I'm not broken. No, you're not. So now all we're going to do is change some patterns. It's as simple and easy as that. And it's easy once you recognize the pattern. So the first step to transformation is recognizing there's a problem. There's a problem. Now we're going to focus on how do we fix it, right? Not you, the problem. You don't need to fix you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just patterns. And those patterns are not you. Okay? So, but we have to recognize sometimes that in the end, you've got to save yourself. because you will go insane. You will give yourself away, because usually the person who experiences the worst pain is the giver. Not always, but usually it's the giver. And the chances are, if you're in a toxic relationship, you're giving, and you can never give enough. It'll never be enough. Just like the person who is the receiver, no matter how much they receive, it's never enough. They always want more. And you're trying to fill a hole that can't be filled. And by you giving, you're trying to fill a hole that can never be filled. And so you end up draining each other. There's nothing left. And then you're spent. There's nothing left to give. They have completely drained you emotionally, spiritually, physically, and probably financially. And then what are they going to do? They're just going to move on to the next host. Someone who maybe this time can fulfill that hole. It's never going to happen, right? So we have to let them go. Now, I made the decision, I'm going to stay in it for a certain amount of time, and I decided I was going to stay in it until I couldn't anymore, and that eventually happened through circumstances that weren't even in my control, or hers, as you will see later. But for now, make sure that you subscribe, right? Make sure that you like, even if you didn't just, this is the one time I'm going to allow you to lie, all right? Subscribe. Make sure you're getting all of the updates, the new podcasts that we're doing. And right now we're on a roll. We're creating new ones all the time, and they're all entertaining, enlightening, and empowering. So if you want to get the first 3 chapters of the third, yeah, sometimes I speak faster than my mouth works. If you want to get the first 3 chapters of the amazing book that I just read some of to you, The Venus Flytrap, Sex, Lies, and Repercussions, you can get the first 3 chapters of the book for free. Why? Because I know when you've read the first 3 chapters, you're going to be hooked and you want to get the book. Genius, I know. And you can also get for free the guide to the 7 signs that you are in a toxic relationship. And you can also, there's a link there too, and these are on the show notes, a link to getting a complimentary 30-minute coaching session with moi, so you can decide whether you think there's a connection, that we vibe, and then I can help you get where you want to go from wherever you are. All right. And of course, the website's on there as well, a link to the website, and a bunch of other stuff as well. So you can't go wrong. All right. In the meantime, we're going to go for now. I'm going to leave you. I know you're going to miss me, but I'll be coming back soon. In the meantime, always remember, nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you.
Let's go. Spiritual sparkle in a world of gray, finding the truth in the disarray. It's a raw confession of a life lived fast, breaking the chains of a heavy past, from the erotic spirit to the soul's rebirth, finding what a human life is really worth. Sex, lies, and the repercussions stay as we dance the final act away. Just a true story of a love so deep, promises that we could never keep. In the garden of the trap we lay, waiting for the break of a breath.